What is going on, guys? On the screen is the full March Madness bracket. I'm going to go through, give you guys my picks, and then at the end of my first round picks, I'm going to take a picture of my second round picks, or just maybe a picture on like ESPN or something like that, and put it up there and go over all my picks and into my Final Four, and then my championship. And here we go. Let's get this thing started. So starting off, top left of the bracket, we got the East side, starting with UConn and Stetson. And listen, look. If you think this game is going to be an upset, or you think that UConn's the 1-1 seed that stands a chance to be upset in the first round, I think you're crazy, because this is going to be a blowout, and UConn's moving on. Come on. Okay, moving on to FAU and Northwestern. FAU did pull the 16-1 upset on, what's it called? I was thinking Furman and Virginia, but they did pull the upset on Purdue, I think, right? Or maybe Kansas, I forgot. Or maybe Houston, I don't know, one of them. But it was like the FDU, believe it, or that was FAU. I don't know, but FAU and Northwestern, 9:15 game on, what is this, Friday or Saturday? Or yeah, I think Friday. Okay, FAU Northwestern, I've got FAU winning. I don't know much about it, but I'm taking them just because I think they've been hot recently. San Diego State, UAB, and there's a reason I'm taking San Diego State in this one, and it actually might give away my other picks, so I'm not going to say it. San Diego State, they went to the championship last year. A lot of family came from there, so I know that team. And no, I'm not that one guy that picks games like that, but I think San Diego State's the better team than UAB, and yeah. Okay, Auburn, Yale. This was a game I was thinking about taking an upset, and hey, by the way, there's a rule. I have to have, so 14 through 16 seeds are the big upsets, and 13 through 10 are the little upsets, 9-8. 10-7 isn't really an upset, but that's a rule that I have, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to have one or two of those. That is the rule, but let's keep going with this. And Auburn, Yale, I was thinking about taking Yale at first, but then I looked at some Auburn highlights, and I think Auburn is just a more intense team and physical team, and has really good perimeter shooting, so I think they are going to beat Yale in that one. Moving on to BYU and Duquesne. The reason I'm taking BYU is just because I've never heard of that college, and I don't know how to pronounce their name, so I'm taking BYU. For Illinois and Morehead State, Illinois, really good team. I don't see a way that they lose that game, so I'm going to go ahead and take them. Washington State, Drake. Washington State kind of blew the Pac-12 tournament, or they didn't blow it. I mean, they were like, I don't even think they finished top 5, to be honest, in that tournament, and they did bad. And Drake is a pretty good team, a flashy team where you could hear that team going to like the Elite 8 or something like that. So I've got Drake in my first lower seed getting the win, and then it's pretty straightforward. Iowa State and South Dakota, final game of the East. Iowa State is going to sweep them through, get rid of those guys, take care of them. Also, I said this in a video yesterday, for the games where it's like Howard or Wagner and whatever those, I'm just going to take the team that doesn't have that, or doesn't, the single team, because that just makes everything easier. So, UNC, my squad, yeah, we're moving on either way, even if we play Howard or Wagner. Howag is what I'm going to call them, just because, yeah. Okay, Mississippi State and Michigan State. I have a friend that's a Michigan State friend, or a Michigan State fan. And Michigan State started the season off ranked like 2 or 4, something like that. No, not 2. Duke started 2. Must have been 3 or 4. And Michigan State matches up really well against Mississippi State, so I'm going to take them to win for that reason, because it's not like I watched any of these teams. I'm taking North Carolina and Michigan State to play each other. St. Mary's in Grand Canyon next. St. Mary's, really good school, always have good basketball teams. Grand Canyon, that's a sleeper. This is, in my opinion, a top 3 game in the first round. It's going to be an incredible game, and I wanted to give Grand Canyon the upset win, but I couldn't do it. So I'm going to give St. Mary's a W, but I think that one's really close, and it honestly could come down to a game winner. Moving on to Alabama and Charleston. I've got Alabama winning. I think Charleston was the team that I talked about least today with my friends when we were like talking about random stuff. So Charleston is out. Alabama moves on. And also Alabama is just a straight up good team. So they move on to play St. Mary's. Moving on to Clemson and New Mexico. Clemson did beat UNC in a game this year. Super depressing game. But we also did beat them in a game. And New Mexico, they have been, out of teams that are not ranked, besides Oregon maybe, they have been, and NC State, those two teams, they have been probably the hottest team in college basketball. They have been on a roll, nonstop getting wins. They played like 5 games in 5 days or something like that. So I'm going to go with them to keep rolling, and I'm going to have them beat Clemson in the highest upset so far. So New Mexico moves on. Next, we've got Baylor and Colgate. I went to go see a Stanford-Colgate football game. Colgate sucks, so I'm going to take Baylor. I'm kidding. That's not the reason why, but Baylor, yeah, they're the national champions 3 years ago. They're just an incredibly good team still, and they didn't lose that. So New Mexico, Baylor in this round of 32. Moving on to Dayton, Nevada. I was thinking about taking Nevada at first, but then I just realized like Dayton, they're a really good team. Like in a ton of ways, super physical team, good shooting, good defensive team. Kind of like UNC, they kind of match those boxes just in a little category. So I'm gonna take Dayton to win and move on. Moving on, we got Arizona and Long Beach State. And Long Beach State, that's the most Californian name possible. And I'm gonna be real with you. This was originally going to be my upset in the first round, my massive upset in the first round. I never said I had to have an upset where the 15 seed beat the 2 seed or anything. But this is my upset, or this was going to be my upset until I got convinced to change it. So, yeah, Arizona, that's the easy take. I got them winning to move on and play Dayton. Moving on to the other side of the bracket, we've got Houston and Longwood. Houston, the 1 seed in the South. Houston, they're going to kill these guys. Moving on to Nebraska, Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is a fairly good team, same as Nebraska. Nebraska, I believe, beat Wisconsin in the Big 12 tournament or Big 10 tournament, whatever they're in. But they didn't win; they fell short. But I am gonna take Texas A&M just because I think they're better. Moving on, we've got Wisconsin and James Madison. I'm not going to spoil anything. I've got James Madison winning this game because James Madison is freakish in all sports, and that is the type of team with that type of name that will make a deep run. And I'm going to make a run for James Madison here. You'll see, but I got James Madison winning this one as a 12 seed and moving on. Next, we've got Duke and Vermont, and boy, do I want to take Vermont to win this game. But I want to have a perfect bracket, so I've got to take Duke to win it. So Duke's moving on. And then we've got NC State and Texas Tech. NC State has been probably the hottest team in college basketball recently that's not ranked. They played 5 games in 5 days, beat Duke and North Carolina in that tournament to secure themselves an 11 seed on Thursday at 6:40 p.m., and yeah, they've been on fire. Texas Tech is a really good team also. They have, I think, 3 guys, or they got a bunch of scouting reports that were All-Americans coming out of college from the McDonald's All-American game. They, I think, got 3 of those recruits, and I think 1 or 2 of those guys is actually going to go to Texas Tech. So they're a really good team, and I'm going to take this one to be really close, but DJ Burns and DJ Horn aren't going to have enough to get it done against Texas Tech. So I'm taking Texas Tech to move on. Next, we've got Kentucky and Oakland. Oakland is not in California. I actually thought it was. I thought that was just the Oakland school in California. But no, and I'm taking Kentucky. That's a no-brainer. Next, Florida. And, I can't make this a debate just because I don't want this bracket to be annoying with, those 2 teams or whatever. Just in case I get one wrong, then it's I got it right, but I also got it wrong technically, right? So I'm just going to take Florida to win that one. And next, we got Marquette, Western Key. I honestly have a feeling looking at this game that this is going to be the 2 versus 15 upset that we see, Marquette and Western Key. That is just because Marquette, I always take them to win, a lot of games. I took them, last year. I don't think this video is not on the internet anymore, but from my old channel last year, I took Marquette to win the championship. They lost in the round of 32. Or maybe I took them to be the runners-up. I don't know, maybe. But I feel like that would be the upset, but Marquette is the easy take, so I will take them to win it. Moving on to the Midwest Division, I got Purdue moving on against whatever teams they play just because it's the 2 teams. Next, we got Utah State and TCU. I feel like this is one of the more straightforward 8 versus 9 seeds. I think Utah State definitely better, definitely going to get this win and move on. So they will play Purdue. Moving on, we got Gonzaga and McNeese. McNeese, a team that you think would make a run, but I'm going to go with Gonzaga. Gonzaga, they choke a lot, but yeah, I'm going to roll with Gonzaga either way on this one. Okay, moving on, we've got Kansas and Sanford, and listen, I'm going to take Sanford to win this game. It's just because you don't know what the status of the two Kansas stars are going to be like. Obviously, Kevin McCullough Jr. and Hunter Dickinson both getting hurt in that tournament a week ago, and Hunter Dickinson wasn't as bad. He's practicing right now. What was it? He hurt his shoulder. I think he just dislocated his shoulder, so he'll be good to go, I think. And then Kevin McCullough, he hurt his ankle maybe, and he's not been doing anything in practice. I read an article today. It said that he's not been practicing or doing anything, so that's worrisome if you're a Kansas fan. So I think with just all that drama in Kansas, I think Sanford's just going to use that, and I think they're going to win that game. I think Kansas will hang around in it, but it wouldn't be a pretty Kansas season if that's how it goes. Moving on to South Carolina and Oregon, and I have an Oregon friend. Oregon has been rolling. They have been going nuts recently. In South Carolina, they had emerged in the middle of the season where they were just like, they were the team to beat. I'm not even going to lie. Like, they were the team to beat for like a 1 or 2 week span, maybe 2-3 week span. Like, if you beat South Carolina, you were a good team. So I'm going to take Oregon to win that just because they've been so hot. So I think they'll keep it rolling into the second round. So I'm going to take Oregon to win that. Moving on to Creighton, Akron. Creighton, they're going to win that game. Akron, good season. They won that tournament, but yeah, I'm going to take Creighton. I'm also going to take Texas just because you don't know if Virginia or Colorado State's going to win that next one, so I'm taking Texas. Moving on, we got Tennessee and St. Peter's. This is another 2 versus 15 where I would have taken the 15 just because St. Peter's is a name that everybody knows, but it is also at the same time a team that teams that go on a crazy run like St. Peter's, you don't hear their name get up to the Sweet 16, Elite 8 rarely, but Sweet 16, round of 32, even the tournament all that much. So I'm going to take Tennessee to win that and move on. Okay, guys, here is the second round up on the screen now. That was probably not a clean transition at all, but let's start with the East because I don't want to take this forever. UConn and FAU. UConn, you don't want to make it different, or you don't want to be that guy that's just trying to say FAU just because you want to be different. And let's be honest, UConn's winning this game. And also, let's be honest, or let's be honest, but ignore my whiteboard because it's hard to write on the bottom, like with Tennessee and stuff. So that's why it looks that ugly. UConn moves on. And then we've got San Diego State and Auburn. One of the best games that you can get in the tournament. And I'm going to take San Diego State just because I want to see a rematch of UConn and San Diego State in the championship with them both on the same side of the bracket. So that will be a really good game. So I'm going to take those two teams. I'm going to take San Diego State to win. You know what I mean. BYU and Illinois. BYU the 6 seed, Illinois the 3 seed. Illinois, again, really tough physical team that has good shooting and stuff. BYU, I think they barely sneak by Deuce Quincy or whatever. So I'm going to take Illinois to win this one, but I think it'll be another close game. Moving on to Drake and Iowa State. Iowa State, you're trying to just be different if you take them to lose this game. Because Iowa State, really good team, is actually ranked ahead of North Carolina right now. They moved into the 4 spot. But North Carolina, since they were 4, they got that 1 seed. But Iowa State, really good team, and I think they're going to keep rolling, and I think they're going to win that game. Moving on to the west side of the bracket, you got UNC and Michigan State. It's me against my friend who's a Texas fan and a Michigan State fan. Definitely going to be rooting for Michigan State there, but I think he wants Texas to win the tournament if they somehow play in the championship, but that won't be a problem. Michigan State, they started off the season really highly ranked, as I said, but this won't be a problem for UNC because my Heels will get it done and move on. Moving on to St. Mary's in Alabama. St. Mary's, Alabama, another really good 5 versus 4 seed game. I'm going to take St. Mary's to win this one, though. St. Mary's always have really good teams. Alabama, this year's team, I just feel like Alabama, they're a team that can get upset, or they're a team that just won't get it done fully. So I'm getting that vibe while I'm picking them, so I'm going to take them to lose. Moving on to New Mexico and Baylor. As I said, New Mexico is the team that I'm kind of going with. So they're one of my couple teams, or one of my few teams actually, that I'm riding with for a while. So I'm going to take the upset here, and this is one of my few upsets, only 8 seeds lower. I'm taking New Mexico to get the W and keep rolling on, and they will move into the Sweet 16. Moving on to Dayton, Arizona. I've got Arizona and Caleb Love getting it done. I want to see a game where it's Arizona and Caleb Love versus RJ Davis, Armando Bacot, and UNC. You'll see if I predict that. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but Let's keep this thing moving. I have Arizona beating Dayton and moving on to play New Mexico in the Sweet 16. Moving on to Houston and Longwood, not Houston, Longwood. Houston and Texas A&M. Houston, they're a crazy good team. They rolled over Texas like that, and Texas, I think they rolled over Texas A&M. So for that, I'm going to take Houston. Now we've got James Madison and Duke. And James Madison, they're another team I'm going with. Like, I'm rolling with them deep. So I'm rolling with them into the Sweet 16, and they're upsetting my least favorite team, Duke. Again, 8 seeds higher, and James Madison, they're the type of team to beat Duke. Last year was Tennessee. Tennessee was a 5 seed, I think, and Duke was a 4. But this year, James Madison, they're just lower, but they are a team that is going to keep going. And Duke, while they think they can beat them, they can't. So James Madison rolls on to play Houston in the Sweet 16. Moving on, we got Texas Tech and Kentucky. I think it's a pretty straightforward pick. Kentucky, they beat UNC, and UNC beat Texas Tech 3 years ago in a random game. I actually looked that up. I don't know why. So I'm going to roll with Kentucky here. And Kentucky also, they're just known for having really good pesky teams, same as Texas Tech. But Kentucky, they're better with that. So that's more of their game, so I'm going to take that. And yes, I don't know what I'm saying right now. We got Florida Marquette next. I feel like Florida isn't fully what you think they are. I feel like the only reason I took them just because it was Boise State and Colorado, those two teams. So I'm going to roll with Marquette to beat Florida. And also Marquette is a team that I took to go to the championship last year and lose. So I'm going to take Marquette. Moving on, we've got Purdue and Utah State. This is another upset I have. I think Purdue is the most vulnerable 1 seed in this entire thing. Zach Edey, he's really their only good player. They have, I forgot the other guy's name. They have 2 good guards, but I feel like Purdue's the most vulnerable team, so I'm going to roll with Utah State to keep it going and beat Purdue. That's a bold take, but I'm going to roll with it, and I actually like it. So Purdue is the earliest going 1 seed. They go in the round of 32. Let's keep it rolling. We got Gonzaga and Samford. Samford, they only get that win the first round just because Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough are hurt for Kansas. So I'm going to give Gonzaga the win, no-brainer there. So it's going to be Utah State and Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. Whoa, that voice crack was crazy. Moving on to Oregon and Creighton. I was originally thinking about keeping Oregon's dream run alive, but no. Creighton, really, really good team. I'm going to keep them rolling, and I'm surprised I was thinking about that because I think I have Creighton going further than you might think. That's no spoiler. Moving on to the next two, it's 2 orange teams. It's the 7 seed Texas and the 2 seed Tennessee. Tennessee, once again, extremely good team. Not a great defense, though. Like, they allowed 100 to North Carolina. They allowed 104 to, I think Kentucky, maybe. Or no, maybe they only allowed 90 to Kentucky or something. But they allowed something big. So some good teams score on them a lot. But I think this will be a really close game. And sorry to my friend, but I'm going to have to go with Tennessee. Better team, and just the higher seeds, one of the reasons why I'm picking them. So that is it for the round of 32. On to the Sweet 16. Moving on to the Sweet 16 predictions, let's get it going, and we are starting it with, and up on the screen right now is the Sweet 16. Sorry, it's a little not zoomed in, but here we go. We've got UConn, San Diego State. I think UConn does win it in a repeat of last year's national championship. It's just because they are just they're just a better team. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, I don't watch all teams in college basketball, so forgive me if I don't have the right definitions and stuff. It's only a couple teams that I follow. I follow Duke just because I hate them and UNC because I love them. So yeah, I have UConn moving on, and I think they will play Iowa State, and in Iowa State, Illinois. Illinois, really good team, but Iowa State, I think they're just a little bit gooder. That's not a word, but yeah, UConn, Iowa State. It's a 1 seed versus a 2 seed in the Elite 8. I know, boring, but whatever. North Carolina, St. Mary's from the West. It feels weird saying that UNC's in the West, but UNC, St. Mary's, and UNC just a more physical and just a better team. It's going to be UNC's physicality that's going to get them this win, and it's why I think UNC could win the national championship, and I am a fan of them. So I've got UNC moving on to the Elite 8. Moving on to New Mexico and Arizona, as I said, New Mexico is one of my teams that I'm riding with here. It's one of my upset teams. It's one of my teams that's going to have a dream season. And I do think Arizona is a bit vulnerable. I think they will kind of fall apart. Maybe Caleb Love or a good player on their team does get hurt. So I'm going to roll with New Mexico's dream story to roll alive. I'm going to play North Carolina in the Elite 8. Moving on to Houston and James Madison. And listen, James Madison, they're one of the other 3 teams that I have that's going to keep it rolling. And I think that James Madison University upsets Houston in the Sweet 16 to move on to the Elite 8. Bold take, and I think they get it done handily. I think they have 10 points, maybe like 8 or 6 on their side, and I think they beat Houston. Bold take, that's my biggest take for the video. And comment down below what you think is your Final Four in your national championship also. Now moving on to probably the game of Elite 8 or Sweet 16. We got Kentucky and Marquette. Incredibly good game. I think this was a game maybe last year or maybe even this year. But a really, really, really good game. And I'm going to roll with Kentucky to beat Marquette. Marquette, they're a little vulnerable. They choke. And last year I took them to win. But I have a feeling that they're going to lose this one. Kentucky, really good team. They even beat UNC for my reference. So if that's right, we're going to get a really unpredicted Elite 8. We're going to get James Madison and Kentucky. Moving on to the Midwest side of the bracket, I had Utah State upsetting Purdue last side or whatever, or in the round of 32. So now we got Utah State and Gonzaga. And listen, I do think it keeps rolling. Utah State beats Gonzaga and moves on. And Gonzaga, they're known to choke a bit. So they will lose that game, and Utah State will move on. And then I think they're going to play Creighton. Creighton will beat Tennessee in that game. Creighton, a better team than Tennessee. And they're also a team that I just like in terms of winning big, clutch college basketball games. And it's just a team that I think could really, really win the national championship this year. Moving on to Elite 8 predictions, let's get it started with UConn and Iowa State. And I do think UConn keeps rolling here against Iowa State. Iowa State, incredible team. For some reason, I think Iowa State will jump out to a lead in this game, like maybe 10, 15 points. But UConn will come roaring back, hit some big shots, and they'll come back and get the win and move to the Final Four. And yeah. Okay, now we got North Carolina, New Mexico, and UNC will not let New Mexico beat them. UNC will end New Mexico's dream season and move to play UConn in the game of the year, a rematch from that game at the Garden where they beat us. Pretty sad game. Moving on to James Madison and Kentucky. Kentucky also on a roll, but James Madison has been the team I've been riding with, and I'm going to ride with them all the way to the Final Four, kind of like FAU last year, Florida Atlantic. I just think that they're a team that is bound to have a run, and if they're not it, then it's a team that I probably didn't take. Maybe like Vermont is going to have a run, but I don't think that's going to happen. I hope that does happen because they beat Duke. But James Madison will roll to the Final Four, and the team that will meet up with James Madison to complete it will be Creighton beating Utah State, ending Utah State's run where they knocked off crazy. They knocked off TCU, Purdue, and Gonzaga to move on a 5 seed, a 1 seed, and a 9 seed, 1-5-9. It's kind of cool. It's in order, but they will move on. Creighton is going to go to play James Madison in the Final Four. And in the Final Four, this is what will happen. Here are my official Final Four predictions in Glendale, Arizona. I might go to Glendale, Arizona to watch this. If UNC makes it, I will have to convince my family. But UNC will beat UConn. Get my word for it. This is not biased. We will beat UConn. Okay, listen. UConn, they're a bit vulnerable too. They've lost some games. Actually, that's not true at all. But still, we will beat them, and we will make it to the national championship, hunting number 7. And then in James Madison, Creighton, I think it will end for James Madison. Creighton, as I said, incredible team, and this is where their run goes, if you're wondering. And in the national championship, it will be UNC and Creighton. It's just the physicality of Hubert Davis's defense and just Elliot Cadeau and the rest of that, like, just the physicality of UNC will overpower Creighton, and I do think that we are the best team in the world, college basketball. But that's it. I do have to go. I'm late for this thing because I've been doing this video for so long. So that's my official March Madness predictions. Might be a little biased having UNC win. I think Creighton's still an incredible team. Comment your Final Four and predictions down below. Games are starting tomorrow for the first 4 in, and then games start Thursday. UNC plays at 11:45 Pacific. Hopefully I'll be able to watch that. But that's it for this. My predictions, and peace.